Moritz in Switzerland. High in the Swiss Alps, the beautiful Engadin Valley. There is the Horseshoe Bar at one of the most famous sporting venues on the planet. It's the Olympia Bob Run at Moritz. In 1928 and 1948, it was the Olympic track, and it is still the home of ice sliding. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Welcome to our coverage of the second and deciding heat of the second men's skeleton race of the weekend. Temperatures hovering just below zero, but the sun is out and it is a beautiful weekend. Well, in our first heat, Melissa Hollingsworth, we had a very impressive run from your colleague John Fairburn, blasting himself right into contention with a fourth place run.
Yes, John had a smooth, clean run on his Sate sled, and I'm really hoping to see him on that podium.
Well, joined us in the broadcast booth last weekend for the first time, and that kudos is obviously rubbing off with a great run for Johnny Fairburn. And Kristen Bromley, 7th place finish, his best of the season in Friday's race, topped that with a standout run, 3rd place in the medals for the first time this year after the first of our 2 runs. Well, teammate Shelley Rudman, his partner, took bronze yesterday. She looked delighted. But as we have come to expect this as a number of other years, the 2 Dukurs brothers top of the pile, Melissa.
Thomas and Martin's building their own sled, their own runners. We've been seeing them 1-2 all season long, and I suspect that will happen in Sochi as well.
Well, there's every chance. Thomas led in Friday's race after the first heat. Martin's overhauled him. Martin's leading here after heat 1. Will Thomas overhaul him? It's a bit of a big ask. There's quite a gap between them, half a second.
Not only does he have the opportunity to hang on to that yellow bib, if he wins this next heat, he is a threat in that Triple Crown.
Well, the Triple Crown will go to the winner of the final 3 races of the World Cup, €100,000, provided they are fastest in all 6 heats. Martin Dukurs is 1/6 of the way there. Still a lot to do. Thomas Dukurs lies in 2nd place. Kristen Bromley, Johnny Fairburn, Matt Antoine, Sergei Chudanov, Alex Krukel. There's a huge group right behind in contention for the podium. From 21st and 22nd, Matthias Guggenberger and Raphael Meyer, the entire Austrian team, out of the race. From our 29 sleds, only the fast 20 go through, and that man, Martin Dukurs, will be last to go. Now, the ice in the first heat was -1. It's now down closer to -6 degrees, despite the fact that sun means actually the air is feeling a lot hotter. So what's that going to do to the speed of the track?
It's going to pick up for sure. We've had a heat of bobsleigh as well. What we noticed in our women's race yesterday is that it packed that ice. It made it harder to control our sleds, and we were skidding off corners. So look for some exciting runs.
Well, we always get excitement. Skeleton is the wild rodeo riding of the ice sliding world. Alexandros Kefalas of Greece will be the first of our 20 athletes to go. Martin Dukurs last as the race leader. He'll try and hold on to that half-second advantage, and the total time for both runs will decide their finishing order. So no mistakes. You don't get to throw a bad run away. It comes back to haunt you. Well, in this stunning location of Moritz, the greatest, the longest, the fastest, the most historic ice track in the world, 125 years of history, and those old sliders from the 1890s would still recognize the challenge that everybody faces here. The Shuttlecock Club from the Cresta Run next door to us, that's also somewhere where Alexandros Kefalas of Greece goes to enjoy his ice sliding. But now the 29-year-old from Chamfer, just down the road, is looking to try and build on this 20th place run.
What a great view of this straightaway heading into K2. Look at all the lines on the track. Those are also from bobsleds. And you just imagine how heavy a 4-man bobsled is and how it's packing the ice and changing the different profiles of the corners. Now, he came out of corner wall and bumped that left wall, which makes it hard to transition into the snake corners. This is going to be a different track for these guys.
Well, first thing to notice is that his first start was a 5:29. He started 5:18. That start record from heat 1 is in real danger when the really quick guys get going. Nice smooth run, and I wonder whether the bobsleigh's leaving subtle little marks in the track that will direct the sled around contrary to how you want it to go.
Maybe not necessarily where you want to go. You will see them and it will give you a little bit of a sense of panic that you might not be on the right line, falling out of corners, just like Alexandros just did there, but still quick speeds.
130.1, 80.9 miles an hour, head first, chin on the ice. Well, he can't drop out of the top 20 no matter what else happens. 109.72, his first heat was 109.76, but again, consistency is not necessarily the strong point at the tail of the top 20, should be more consistent at the top.
He was working pretty hard. That leg was up in the air, comes and brushes that wall on the left, and look at the snow fly off. That makes him late and nameless. He's weightless there, and now he is late into that next corner, doing quite a bit of work. His head pops up, shoulders up. Need to be aerodynamic in skeleton. It's up to your body.
Alexandros Kefalas of Greece is our leader. Ed Smith of Great Britain tied for 18th after the first heat. Started 5:09. Now, after a confidence-building run on Friday, he had a really safe run in the first heat. Now he can let it just fly a little bit more. 5:10, so it was Kefalas' personal performance that was better in the second start. And the magnets in the walls are activated for Ed Smith.
Yes, he went late into kink 2, and so then he got that pressure on the very end, and it pushed him into that right wall. But really nice exit of wall and smooth through snake.
He needs a good run here to build the confidence after a disappointing start to the season in North America and Canada, and the US tracks just weren't happy hunting grounds for him.
Going into the notorious horseshoe corner. It is the only corner on the track where there is a roof built in, and that is for safety. As we saw in that first heat, some of the athletes bumping off that wall. If the roof was not there, they'd be right out of the track.
Behind Kefalas, he was 1600s up. He's drifting behind, 100.7 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour. Down the bottom, Kefalas had 134.7, much quicker, and that could give him 2/10 advantage at the line. Really flying across here, 84 miles an hour, 109.42. Now that is 2600s better than his first run. So again, he's just allowed it to relax and speed up under him.
There's no doubt that that track is getting faster, but that also will set pressures up in different parts of the corners. So making sure their lines are great, that's what the key to the sport is. Ed needs to run further. He's barely getting over top of that crest. You have to make sure you're accelerating that sled, having the best velocity as you head into the first corner of the track. Every 100th counts.
It does. Ed Smith is our race leader. 18 sleds still to come. Yuki Sasahara, like his teammate, had a big run on Friday's race, a real standout performance from the Japanese. Both sliders fared well. Tied in 18th place with Ed Smith of Great Britain. Not even 100th of a second between them after a mile head first on the ice. It's quite remarkable how close these athletes get.
You have the choice of using either the right or the left groove, and out of all 29 athletes that started, every single one of them in the first heat used that right groove.
Well, that keeps you closer to the right-hand side. It diminishes the chance of a crash on that first little kink. 50.3 kilometers an hour. Off a 5:10 getaway, exactly the same start time as Ed Smith. His numbers are green at the moment, so he's tied for the lead.
Yuki looks very relaxed, great form, shoulders are down on the sled. We steer these sleds with pressure points, so the slightest amount of movement, your shoulder, your knee, just like that going into horseshoe will make his sled cross over into that corner.
2800s up, he's really flying. Ed was 100.7, Yuki 102.4 kilometers an hour here. Now he's really letting the horses have their head here in the second run, isn't he, Mel? He's just letting it fly.
He is, and it's so smooth. If we get the opportunity to listen to these sleds, just whiz by that camera. Such an amazing feeling as you're traveling close to 140 kilometers an hour.
135.5, 84 miles an hour, and he takes the lead from Ed Smith of Great Britain. Applause from Katsuhiro Koshi. Well, Ed gets a bit of confidence under his belt, but it is Japan's Yuki Sasahara who has the lead of the race. Well, Melissa Hollingsworth, when he gets the helmet off, he's going to have a big smile because this just looks so natural.
You can see his toe there. He's just trying to make that line as perfect as possible. He knows he's at a horseshoe. Now he can put his head down and be aerodynamic.
Like that replay. There's our race leader. Here's our Olympic champion, John Montgomery. He said to me this morning, I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. I'm just going to go hell for leather. So it's win it or bin it. He had a wild first run, only 17 spot off a 5-second flat push. Let's see if Montgomery can get the mojo working.
497, that's a lot better for John. Very strong and fast this season, working with Stu McMillan. He is our Olympic champion from Canada. I spoke with him between runs and he said, you know, I just had to take a huge risk with my setup. It was a little tough for him that first run, so if he can just go straight on this run, I think we'll see him have some time in that leader box.
Well, again, the track different from how it was in training, more polished, faster, colder, so it makes the sled wilder anyway. Little tap out of Dixon, tidies it up into horseshoe, low line, but he's having to steer hard. 2700s up. Oh dear, 100.6, that's 2 kilometers down on the Japanese.
And John did take a big risk wanting to defend his Olympic gold medal by trying to design his own sled, which is very flexible. You could see just the slightest movement from John and it responds immediately. And it's just traveling that fine line of relaxed chaos.
3 kilometers an hour too slow. He's not going to hold on to his place. He's going to slip down into second spot. Yuki Sasahara stays in the lead. John Montgomery, well, Duff Gibson, Kelly Forbes can't really do an awful lot to help him. We've talked about this before, Melissa. The sled is such a personal thing. It's like the seat in a race car. It's molded to every fiber of your body.
Yeah, and John, you know, was at a disadvantage from the start because he was over in Whistler racing 2 IC races, got here to St. Moritz, only had the 2 runs to qualify. His equipment wasn't even here for him. He was on borrowed equipment from his teammates so that he could get his qualifying runs in, and definitely had a hard time with this tough St. Moritz track.
Tough season for John Montgomery. Breakout weekend, though, for this man. From Barcelona in Spain, Ander Mirambell had a big result on Friday. He got himself the best result of his season and another great run this morning. So much confidence coming into him, and it just shows he's really enjoying his weekend.
Whoa, crazy legs there.
Well, again, we saw that in the first heat, really waving around, trying to settle himself into that first kick. 5:14, 600s quicker than his first start, and Mel, that's just confidence coming out.
It is, and you saw his big smile at the end of his first run, and that is just going to help him get down this track again. It's so much fun to slide down this track as it is, but when you're sliding well, it's that much funner.
30-year-old sports scientist. And he trains with the soccer club in Barcelona, Espanyol. They've got a massive match on this afternoon against Real Madrid, which he'll be fervently supporting them in. And they will be watching him in turn coming down this St. Moritz ice. 1800s behind Yuki Sasahara.
You can hear a little bit of scraping there. He was a little sideways coming out of Nameless.
Second quickest at that stage, or in fact fastest, the same as Sasahara. So can he close the gap a little? Yuki 135.5, 134.7. He's going to slip a spot behind the Japanese into second position. So Yuki Sasahara continues to climb up the order, but another confidence-building run for Ander Mirambell. He will leave, as we often do, with a real smile on his face from St. Moritz. 109.23, same time as John Montgomery. But that's 4/10 quicker than his first run, so the track much faster.
Again, choosing to use that right groove, give him that best opportunity to get through kink 1. Look at how he's egg beaters going all around. So much pressure in the sled. That wasn't necessary, but he's in the leader's box, so he'll be happy.
Yuki Sasahara of Japan, the race leader from Ander Mirambell, and Olympic champion John Montgomery. Frank Rommel of Germany needs one more top 6 World Cup finish to be allowed to go for the Games for Germany. He might be their only men's skeleton representative. It could have come in Winterberg. He ended up in 12th place in the first race here. That didn't work either. From 15th, he's not going to do it here, which leaves Eagles next week as his only chance. A lot of pressure on the 29-year-old from Germany.
500s quicker on this start time from his first heat, and he found some speed on this track in that first heat. We saw him in the leader's box for quite a while on that race on Friday, and I hope he gets his line figured out in Horseshoe, because he was one of the athletes that hit the roof.
Rommel only 10th in Friday's race. He's 15th after the first heat here. That's a long way to the top 6. It's going to be last gasp saloon at Eagles. There's a number of athletes are going to find. Melissa, 4 years of preparation for the Olympics. It might come down to 2 minutes on the ice in Austria to decide whether you go or don't. 102 kilometers an hour, good speed. He's still in the lead. 1600s, he's just building. Now slips back a fraction.
You can see he's working pretty hard to try and get those early entrances into those corners there.
135.2, second quickest at the bottom. It'll be enough to keep him in the lead, but how much up the order will he climb? 108.81, 7/10 of a second faster than his first heat. That's a much, much better run. 108.81 would have been third in the first heat. Okay, the track's quicker, but it shows how much an improvement that was from Rommel.
Yes, and for sure, even with Frank's experience, his heart would have been pounding in Horseshoe, knowing that he hit that roof on the first run. Wasn't quite perfect there. He bumped the left.
Rommel with a little bit more of a smile on his face as he heads to the leader's box. Let's see how long he's going to stay there. Legendary Dracula Club logo on his helmet. Next up for the USA is Kyle Tress, or as the track announcer likes to call him here, Kylie Tress. From Lake Placid, New York, this 32-year-old software developer started in baseball and basketball, and like so many of his teammates, Melissa Hollingsworth watched the 2002 Salt Lake Games, saw the skeleton and went, that's my sport right there.
And he chose to use that right groove as well, but he's putting his left runner in the right groove, and you can see that he bumped the wall, pushed him over to the left after the first kink. It's not the get-off that you want to be having here at the top of this long St. Moritz track.
When do you make that call? During training or when you see what happens in the race?
Everybody, it's very individual of which groove you want to push in, whether you want to have the runner in the groove and you push over top of it, or if you have a bad load, you'll want your outside runner in that groove. But sometimes it happens race day, and you see those 4 runners go down the track and it's pulling severely one direction or the other, and your coach will tell you, please use the left or the right groove. It will give you your best opportunity.
Dropping behind on time, but 103.1 kilometers an hour is the fastest speed we've seen, over 64 miles an hour and accelerating hard. Rubs the wall at 82 miles an hour, still going quicker. 133.1 down the hill for Kyle Tress. Can he overhaul Frank Rommel? He cannot. 109.24 for him, 2/10 better than his first run, but Rommel still 4/10 quicker than that. Wow, that's a slight disappointment there, to say the least, for Kyle Tress. Tress in 5th place on Friday.
The setup is not very much control. You can see that with his body, his English, his language. Look at that, he got a lot of late height, comes out, bumps the wall, snow coming off. That's why we didn't see the high speed.
Yeah, Yuki Sasahara still the fastest at the bottom of the track. Kyle Tress, 5th place in Friday's race, unlikely to make the top 15 here today. Well, it was a big, big first run from John Farrow of Australia. He documented over the season his recovery from a sprinting injury 2 years ago in Lake Placid. Damaged knee, ACL, hamstring. He spent the last 2 years recuperating from that, now back to something like his former fitness. At least he can run 5:21. And he had such a relaxed ride on the first trip. Look at the tap, no toes visible, no dragging. He's letting it flow here. The fluence, the force has come back to him.
And you can feel that energy of how calm and relaxed he is, how much fun he is having. He absolutely loves sliding skeleton. He also is a very good mountain biker too, so thankfully his injury hasn't stopped him from getting on his bike.
Oh, exactly, downhill mountain bike racer, compared to which skeleton probably seems quite a safe option. 300s behind at Horseshoe, he's closing in on Sasahara. 1:03.4, fastest speed we've seen. The track is still getting quicker.
And he is staying so calm and relaxed in such smooth lines. We're not seeing him bounce off the walls or pressure's picking him up on the exits.
It's one of those days, Mel, that sportsmen have where it comes easy. He's not doing anything different, it's just happening better. 1:35.5, equal fastest speed we've seen down at the bottom. 84.2 miles an hour, a 1:08.75. He takes the lead away from Frank Rommel, who will not get the Olympic qualification standard this week. But John Farrow of Australia heading towards a top 12 finish potentially. And look at his coach, they are so excited. And John himself so thrilled with that result.
Look at how relaxed he is on his sled. A little bit of weightlessness on the exit of that corner, but all athletes are doing that. Quickly get your shoulders back on your sled for that aerodynamic form. Look at all those lines from the skeleton sleds and the bobsleds. It's definitely getting faster and more glassy.
That's amazing.
He's been offered congratulations as well, because these guys know what it means. They all travel hand in glove with each other, and everybody's successes and failures are well documented. Lucas Kummer yesterday crushed when he didn't make the second heat, because he needs, in the last 2 races of the season, 2 more top 12 finishes to be allowed to go to the games for Switzerland. He's 12th here. Here and Eagles, he must make that standard. The Swiss may be more flexible than the Germans. He might go, but he wants to do it on pace. And 4:96, he shows that he's got the determination to put Friday behind him.
Lucas is a great athlete. He's always one of the top starters at the pushing the skeleton sleds, and he was leading the training all week. He was the guy to watch. He was down in Devil's Dyke having the best runs. Would love to see him be able to stay quiet on his sled and achieve that top 12.
Well, Lucas Kummer, the lead Swiss, 28 years old, and he is in their development. Really, they're looking at Pyeongchang for him to really find his ultimate lifetime peak, but if they can send him as well to Sochi, they will. 1:01.1 is not good speed. He is still in the lead, but the gap was out at 4/10. It's now tied with John Farrow of Australia.
Lucas is doing a decent job of aerodynamic form, but I can see he is pulling on his saddle and on his handles, and he's moving his sled quite aggressively underneath of his body.
He's dropping into second place, 4th place! Out of the top 12, John Farrow will stay in the leader's box, and coach Mickey Grumberger, he's so tense, Lucas Kummer, isn't he? The pressure, you can just read it in his body, and that's just such a disappointing result.
Oh, yeah, and he is one of the fastest starters. Have a look at his turnover, how quickly he gets his feet on the ice. Loads, uses that power going forward.
Not a great load, though, struggling to get settled.
And that sometimes happens when you get trying too hard.
Alexander Trkov of Russia, first man on the ice this morning and the fastest starter, but an old-fashioned Trkov run where he had more hits than Elvis. It just went away from him so fast. Maybe it was frostier than he expected. Maybe he had too much control in the sled, but it didn't look like it. 4:74 this morning's start record. Will he go faster? Yes, of course he will. 4:68.
What a push monster Trkov is. He is motivated, upset that he was in 11th place after the first run. He's world champion from this track last season, so we definitely know he's capable of more. Having Willie Schneider as my past coach, I know exactly what kind of setup that he would be on, and it would be the least amount of control possible, because Willie believes that's how you gain your speed.
Well, did he have a disadvantage being first on the ice this morning with a little bit of frost still on the track, I wonder? 9800s up. This is more like the Trkov that we're used to seeing. 101.9, but we've seen 103 there.
You're still seeing his sled go sideways underneath his body and his legs kind of coming out to the side, and we're hearing the scraping from his sled.
He can't control it. He was a second up. Now he's 6/10 up. He will beat John Farrow at the line. 134.1 is the second highest speed that we've seen, but slower than the Aussie. Well, Willi Schneider not overjoyed with that, and I think Trkov will hardly be smiling at the bottom. That was a pretty forgettable pair of runs. It might have been a fast sled, but it was too fast for him to handle.
Yes. Now he's skidding. Look at him go sideways, and his leg comes out. He's trying to get his sled going straight into Nameless. Misses the corner almost completely, late into the next corner. That's why we're not seeing the high speeds from Trkov at the bottom.
Like a racing car, sideways is not forward. It's just wasting time. Alexander Trkov of Russia, our race leader. From Australia's John Farrow and Germany's Frank Rommel. 10 of our 20 sleds have gone here in St. Moritz. Well, it is another stunning day here in St. Moritz. If you have never been, I'm sure these pictures immediately put it on your bucket list. If you're a fan of winter sports, it's just a wonderful place to come. Melissa Hollingsworth, it's not just the glamour of the town. Monaco has that as well. It's not just the beauty of the scenery, but it's the history of this track. And for athletes like you, fortunate enough to actually slide it, it's a different world from anywhere else.
It really is. Just the amount of speed, number one. You're approaching 140 kilometers an hour with your chin just millimeters from the ice. And the ice is so white that it blends in with the snow on the outside of the track. So sometimes you're wondering if you're actually going into the corners or if you've been launched outside. And the unique thing to use trees in the mountain as support beams for these corners, it is absolutely, it's a privilege to slide here.
It's a privilege to even be here. It's the world's biggest ice sculpture. They dump tons of snow out of trucks, and with shovels and hoses, they create this wonderful, living, breathing beast every single year. And the closest us mere mortals get is a taxi bob ride. You can buy yourself a spot in a four-man bobsleigh. And if you've been to any other bobsleigh tracks, this place, as Melissa says, is utterly different. It's silent. All you hear is the wind whistling, a tiny bit of ice patter, but the grumbling and the moaning of the artificial concrete channels just doesn't exist here. And to whistle through the trees and to see Horseshoe coming up towards you, I can barely even imagine what it's like lying with your chin on the ice. And it's a great place to watch. You can walk up and down the track in the sunshine and enjoy some of the greatest winter sliding. The Cresta Run right alongside, buses and trains zigzag down the valley. It's just set up as a wonderful location. Second and deciding heat of the sixth race in the Men's World Cup for Skeleton. 10 sleds to go. John Daly of the USA in 10th spot after the first heat. The 28-year-old from Long Island blasting off the top of this St. Moritz track. Melissa Hollingsworth, another good start from Daly.
Very smooth exit out of kink one. Again, choosing to put that left runner in the right groove to have that advantage to get around that first kink smoothly. John's really coming on strong here as we head into Sochi. I don't know if anyone's been watching his daily Nitro shows on the YouTube channel. Quite the character that he plays with his teammate Steve Langton from the US bobsleigh team.
Well, our race leader at the moment is Alexander Trkov. He's just shattered the start record, going away nearly 0.3 of a second quicker than John Daly. But Trkov had a bit of a wild ride from here, the trademark horseshoe corner all the way down. Daly already 1 kilometer an hour quicker than the Russian was.
Working a little bit, but he's staying within those corners.
More speed than Trkov. The gap's down from 3400s to 11. He'll be tied for the lead at the next trap. Great speed down the hill, 134.4, quicker than the Russian. He's going to be very close to the line, but he should take it away. Clinging through Martineau and Portago. 1200s back. didn't quite find the acceleration right down at the bottom. So John Daly in second place. Trkov takes the lead and creeps into the top 10. Well, until Friday, Alexander Trkov was our World Cup leader, but John Daly came close here.
He went too early into horseshoe. That's why we're seeing that lower line, and now he's getting that extra pressure, but handles it very well because we've been seeing a lot of hits on the entrance of telephone, but he's able to manipulate that sled so he can just pick his shoulder up a little bit in his body, absorb that entry, and get through telephone.
Okay. He's the wild child in his family, he was saying. Next up is Eric Nielsen of Canada, another one of these very vivid new helmet designs for Eric. Faceman joined us in the booth yesterday to call the women's skeleton race. I got very excited to see his teammates going, and Melissa Hollingsworth the same, I'm sure, for you. Eric in 8th place, tied with Hiro Takahashi of Japan. So the first deal is to split the two of them.
Ooh, and his sled really pulled to the right at 5:04. I was expecting him to be a little bit quicker with the groove being faster as well, but if he can be quiet, calm on his sled, he will be deadly because he is a very heavy man, very strong, very tall, and that weight helps him on this 1,700-meter track in St. Moritz.
6'2", 200 pounds, and mass moves mass. This is a gravity sport, and the bigger the weight, the faster it accelerates.
He had some issues on his second heat on Friday where he had fogged up, so he couldn't see the track. So he actually took some shampoo, he's wiped it in his visor so that the condensation doesn't fog him up. Great speed, 102.5 kilometers an hour.
Very quick indeed.
Smooth out of Devil's Lake. This is where you can start seeing some acceleration. I know his wife, Heather, is just sitting on the edge of her couch right now.
Looking for 135 kilometers an hour. 136 kilometers an hour, fastest speed we've seen. Is he going to take the lead from Trkov at the line? A few hundredths of a second, not quite enough. Trkov really rode those bottom two corners, Martineau and Portago, and found speed there. Eric Nielsen slips behind John Daly. Give me John's and me Eric's mixed up here. Into 3rd place by 100th of a second behind Daly.
See, here he is, he's about to load, grabs the sled with 2 hands. You want to get on that sled immediately and all of your force going forward, but that sled veers to the right fairly abruptly.
Really kicked out of that groove, didn't it? Well, he goes to offer his congratulations to leader Trkov, who stays in the top spot. We still have 8 sleds to go. Next up, Hiro Takahashi of Japan. His teammate Yuki Sasahara had a really good second run to consolidate a great first run. And Takahashi could be on the verge of a big result here. His best so far, 8th place in Winterberg a week ago.
Early load from him, but again, maybe he's playing it safe to try and get in position on his sled so he can handle that kink 1. 499.
Whisker quicker than 501 first getaway. He's got to beat the world champion on this track, Alexander Trkov, to stay in a top 8 spot. So we're not asking much here, are we?
No, not at all.
Trkov's 4.68 start, again 3100s quicker than Takahashi just in the first 50 meters.
See his body, he's relaxed, it's absorbing any of the pressures. High line and horseshoe, but clean.
So the gap has not got any bigger, 102.8. Trkov was only 101.9.
You can hear that little bit of dragging of his feet, trying to make small corrections.
I think people are going to need another half a mile of ice, longer than this is. 135.1 is quick, but it's not enough to catch Trkov. Surely he can't pull back 3/10 to the line. He doesn't pull back 3/10 to the line. Trkov, from Gunter Sachs down to the finish, is the fastest man we've seen.
That's an unusual trend for us to see in St. Moritz. Usually the later the start that you go off from the top, you always pick up more speed. Comes out of Devil's Dyke, just angled a little bit late into Nameless. You can see comes off there fairly late into the next corner, and that's it ends up being a domino effect. Hard to correct when you're going so fast in the lower portion of this track.
Well, fourth at the moment with 7 to go. He'll end up no lower than 11th, which was his position in yesterday's race. He and Eric Nielsen compare commiseratory notes. Well, in yesterday's women's bobsleigh race, Kaylee Humphries for Canada went 10 to 1. Can Tretiakov go 11 to 1? Let's see who's going to step up and stop him. Alexander Krökel of Germany. Well, Krökel lying in 7th place here, but so far this season, 7th is his best result. No top 6 finishes. Doesn't look as though he's going to qualify on merit for Germany to go to the Olympic Games. Most of Germany's skeleton team is very young. Krökel just 23, Alexander Gassner just 24. They're both junior world champions, but neither yet qualified to what we understand are the German criterion of 3 top 6 finishes, and there's only 1 race remaining after this to do it in. Not enough.
The sled sounds very quiet. That's what you want. That's the sound. You want no sound, literally. But small adjustments, same thing as the Swiss slider. You can see he's manipulating the saddle underneath his body a little bit.
See the shoulder coming up as he puts in a big steer, 103.1. Second fastest speed behind John Farrow. Down at the bottom, top speed is still Farrow. I beg your pardon, it's Eric Nielsen, 136.0, 136.4. Quicker again from Alexander Krökel. It's the sort of speed we expect from the German. Oh, 100th of a second! Insanely close after 2 miles of ice. Wow, 108.45 slide from him, and still Alexander Tretiakov is in the leader's box.
Here he is in horseshoe. You can see his head moving a little bit. That's showing that he's steering down. And sometimes we will see his elbows poke out slightly, and that's him pulling on his saddle to manipulate the sled, putting pressure in it so that he can control that exit a little bit better.
Well, Krökel, little disappointed with that. The green of Saxony on his hat. Here's a region of Germany. And again, the women's Skeletors from Russia getting a lot of noise going for Sergei Chudinov, the best Russian in the first heat, 6th quickest. Now, can he stop Alexander Tretiakov in his tracks? 3rd quickest at the start, 4.89 first heat.
What a great shot of the shoe. There's about 400 pin needle spikes in the bottom so that we can grip the ice as we start.
4.90, a fraction slower and 2/10 behind his teammate Alexander Tretiakov, and there was only 2/10 between them in the run in the first heat.
Look at the sunbeam out of wall. We barely saw the athlete as he came out. Definitely changing the profile of that exit, melting away some of the ice.
And of course the glare as well from that white-on-white snow blind, a 600th of a second. This could be very close. Chudy looked really relaxed, really fast in the first heat. Oh, that might spell a bit of a disaster for him.
He's starting to work now. You can see his shoulders are picking up, and then he's hitting the sled severely. Elbows are popping out, legs are moving up and down.
In the lead, Tretiakov had 134.5 at the bottom. Chudinov needs all of that. Is he going to put Alexander Tretiakov back in his box? He is, 135 kilometers an hour. He should hold on to the line, but Tretiakov was so quick at the bottom. He does by a quarter of a second. It is a Russian 1-2 with 5 still to go. That's a good result from Chudy. His best was 4th in Park City. He had 6th place in Winterberg last week, and he guarantees himself a top 6 finish here too. And that might be enough to absolutely seal him into the Russian team.
Little low in horseshoe. And now you can see that sled start to rise. It needs to be pointed down at this point because the pressure's gonna release and he's gonna fall right off that curve. Look at his elbows out. He realizes that, he feels that in his body, and now he's really leaning away.
A lot of time you see them just lying there. Sometimes he's like a surfer riding a tube where he's really moving. Sergei Chudinov and Alexander Tretiakov of Russia lead our field with 5 to go in St. Moritz. 28-year-old Matt Antoine from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. Started racing go-karts, and again, like teammate Kyle Tress, saw Skeleton in the Salt Lake City Games and went, oh yeah, baby. And now, with a medal already so far this season under his belt and a win in Lake Placid, can he produce a medal here in a very tight field in St-Moritz, Switzerland?
51.3 kilometers an hour on that start, but bumping that right wall, we'll have to see if he can translate that speed at the exit of Horseshoe.
494 starts, 600s quicker than his first run. He's in front of Sergei Chudanov by a hair's breadth. His numbers are now in the red. He's dropped behind the Russian, who had a really smooth second run. And Matt Antoine working a little harder, Melissa Hollingsworth.
He is, and any little bump you have on these walls, ooh, and he's so close to that roof.
But he gets the exit he wants. Now, does that translate into speed? 102.1, not as quick as Chudanov. 63.5 miles an hour, he needs more at the bottom.
You can see there's not big mistakes happening in the bottom, but you can see he's uncomfortable. The majority of these athletes, the profiles of this track, oh, and you could hear that skid.
Yep.
The profiles have changed slightly because of the sun and the bobsled, so now they're almost relearning a track.
108.48 is not enough to put him in the lead. He is in second place behind Sergei Chudanov. Well, from Horseshoe on down, he couldn't find the speed he needed after a little disappointing top part of the track. He sees second spot.
Look at that angle. Does he get on the roof? No. High, but he's in that rough stuff. So it's not the fastest line. Shoots him out, skidding slightly. The back bumper taps that wall, and really working hard with his body to try and control that pressure and telephone.
Sergei Chudanov of Russia leads. Alexander Trkov offers congratulations to Matt Antoine. 4 to go in St-Moritz. Next up is our top Canadian athlete, Johnny Fairburn of Canada, with a chance now to get in amongst the medals. Martin Haven and Canadian athlete Melissa Hollingsworth watching her teammate in action.
Really nice entrance, and a 496, that's his fastest out of the 4 heats he's had down this track. That's what Fairburn needs to do, is just stay relaxed and do what he has been doing every run. That will be good enough.
No toes tapping on the ice, no unnecessary steers in this slow, flat part of the track. Slow, they're only doing 35 to 40 miles an hour with their nose on the ice. Into Sunny Corner, he's a whisker behind, 200ths of a second.
Looking very relaxed. Little correction, make sure you have that middle entry, the height at about 3/4.
600ths, this is still eminently doable. 103.3, that's a kilometre and change quicker than our race leader, Sergei Chudanov.
Ooh, a little bit late and nameless, but he handles it very well. Staying relaxed, absorbing that late entry.
Gap is coming close. He was very quick here in the first heat. He's lightning fast, 135.4. He's in the lead by 100th of a second. It's going to be very close to the line. If that was a brush on the wall, he might lose it. 500's in. 1 spot to go. Judy breathing a little. Okay, the coaches start breathing again as well for Canada.
I know his wife, Randy, has just thrown her popcorn all over her living room floor right now in
Kick
excitement.
the coffee over, and yeah, it's a mess, but it's worth it. The brain does it again. Johnny Fairburn thinks his way down this track superbly. Didn't like the run much, though.
You need the power and the speed and efficient steps. You're pushing an object. You have to have ground contact all the time to make sure you're increasing the velocity of that sled. Looks great form as he's headed down into this track at 135 kilometers an hour.
John Fairburn in the lead.
Hey everyone, hi everyone back home. Love you guys.
A shot at a medal. Kristen Bromley in a great 7th place, his best of the season yesterday. Now with a chance of a medal in the World Cup for the first time in, I'm not sure quite how long, but if he can tie this one up, what a boost for the top British slider.
Very smooth. And that first kink, a 5:06, same as his first heat.
Well, Bromley, his 18th year as a World Cup slider. Dr. Ice goes a fraction behind Johnny Fairburn. Fairburn set the bar very high. Bromley needs a real top draw effort here, and he's working hard as he comes through Snake down to Sunny Corner. The sun giving it its name already on it.
Comes out close, dangerously close to that left wall. A lower line in horseshoe.
And has to steer a little hard. He's a fraction up, 102.5 kilometers an hour slower than Johnny Fairburn, who was very fast at the bottom.
These Bromley sleds do go fast on this St. Moritz track. His partner, Shelley Redmond, always medaling on this track.
200s back. Can he get 136 kilometers an hour? 135.1. We're going to be talking 100th of a second. A medal for Fairburn potentially, or will Bromley sneak in? Johnny Fairburn takes his first World Cup medal. Kristen Bromley slips to third behind Sergei Chudinov with 2 sleds still to go. Now Johnny Fairburn is in the medals. Can he split the Dukurs brothers? Wow. His first World Cup medal.
He comes out a bit too early out of Dixon, close to that left wall, makes the correction, working there. That's nerve-wracking when you're going into horseshoe and you're working.
Well, it'll still be a better result than yesterday, but Kristen Bromley slipping out of medal contention. He's feeling fitter, the sleds are working better. He's got most of the questions answered before Sochi. Now it's about Kristen.
Yeah.
2 to go here in St. Moritz. Both Latvian, both called Dukurs. Older brother Thomas, 31, goes first. Led yesterday, his brother Martins defeated him. Can he overturn a half-second advantage? 4:89 getaway. He's leaving nothing on the table, Melissa Hollingsworth.
Not at all. Look at that form. I love his black visor. Gosh. Those boys are so fast. They train so hard in the summertime together. They do everything together. Their dad runs the track in Sigulda in Latvia. They're building their own sleds, their own runners, and the whole goal to dominate this sport.
At the moment, the 30-second countdown that he has to start in went green. He was straight out of the blocks. He was so eager to get to his brother's time. 1:03.7, fastest speed we've seen, quicker even than John Farrow, who is the second fastest man at that spot. 6,200s up, but it's not about Johnny Fairburn. For Thomas, it's only about Martins.
Absolute perfection. You don't see him move at all. 136 kilometers an hour.
Insane speed, 84.5 miles an hour, and still accelerating to line. Track record, 1:07.92. They just have it all. Well, he has set the bar higher again for his brother, and he likes that run.
Have a look at him, shoulders down on the sled, minimal work, head down, perfect form, sled going straight. That's how you get 136 kilometers an hour.
Wow, Alexander Krökel of Germany, still fastest, 1:36.4. But it is Thomas Dukurs that leads with 1 to come. Johnny Fairburn joins him on the podium. Last week in the announce booth for the first time, this time on the World Cup podium for the first time. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. Now, here's our World Cup points leader. Martins Dukurs took the lead away from Alexander Trkov in Friday's race, which he won. He is the standout athlete in men's skeleton. Can he produce another superhero run here? 4:81, a great start.
Wow, and 52.1 kilometers an hour velocity. That is outstanding.
6,500ths of a second up on brother Thomas, our current leader. 1 heat in, he was the fastest man. If he wins this heat, he's a third of the way towards a €100,000 prize in the triple trophy that he won last year as well.
Small correction, wanting to go a little bit later into horseshoe, knowing that it would make his line too low, not maximizing his speed, but that is amazing.
Look at the lead. It's almost a second already as he gets to Devil's Dyke. 104 kilometers an hour, 65 miles an hour. 1 second in front, accelerating away. What are we going to see at the bottom? 137? 136.2, not the fastest, but it doesn't have to be. He's going to win going away from the field by 1.09 seconds with another track record. Wow, the Latvian coaches, the Latvian brothers, again jubilant. It's another 1-2 result for the brothers, as it was on Friday, as it was in Winterberg. Since we came to Europe, they have dominated the medal table.
Labi. Labi.
Blowing a kiss to his baby girl back in Latvia.
Paldies.
Yeah. What a superstar this guy is. And Melissa Hollingsworth, he makes it look like everyone can do it. It's so easy and effortless when he slides.
And that's how it should be. It really should be. When you're winning and people ask you, how do you do that? Lots of times you just can't tell them, because that's when everything is going perfectly. You're in that state of flow as an athlete and you're untouchable.
In the best of ways, he is a freak. It's just so easy, and it's all between the ears. The difference between him and the rest, he's a very fast starter, but it's the speed of the synapses. It's the way your brain handles that data rushing at you. He's so far ahead of where the sled is. It just does what he wants. It bends to his will. Martin Dukurs, again, imperious here in St. Moritz. And of course, looming up in front of him is not just the Winter Games, but vindication and retribution for that loss in Vancouver 4 years ago. He wants to put that right and go to Sochi and win gold there too. Well, another breathless race from the Men's Skeleton World Cup. Martin Dukurs winning by a second from brother Thomas over 2 miles of ice. Johnny Fairburn, his first World Cup medal in third. Congrats to him. Sergei Chudinov and Kristen Bromley with Matt Antoine in the top half dozen. Alexander Trkov, the former World Cup leader, a win already this season and never lower than fourth. He had a bit of a struggle here. And a couple of other good solid runs to help athletes. A couple more who've got plenty to think about going into the final 2 regular season races, with the Olympics rushing in at us less than a month away. Down there at the Horseshoe Bar, they're doing brisk business with the beers and the bratwursts. But we still have our winners to hear from here in St. Moritz, in this beautiful sunny location. Well, it was a very commanding win from Martin Dukurs. Brother Thomas in the silver medal position. But Melissa Hollingsworth for Johnny Fairburn, that was a really big day. And what a place to do it. If you can't do it on your home track, this has got to be everybody's second choice, right?
Absolutely, and perfect timing heading into Sochi, just building that confidence in the athletic ability, in his equipment choice, driving ability, and just being right there amongst the best in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. A great opportunity, and well seized as well. When he had that first run that put him right in contention, just having the lack of nerves to be able to relax into that second run and let the sled do what it does best. Don't overdrive it, don't overtry, just let it fly, and he results. The result is that great bronze medal result. You see the track workers continuing to pick little bits of snow off the trees and bits of debris out of the track through the woods here on this hillside. It's a very romantic setting for any sport. No wonder the fans and the athletes love it in equal measure.
She looks like she just got off one of those private jets that just landed here beside the track.
Well, you know, you got to bring your A game when you come to St. Moritz. You can't be a scruffy ragamuffin like me. Everybody else is dressed up to the nines. It's a great winter holiday location, whatever your choice of sport. If you want to come here, do a bit of skiing, bit of boarding, tobogganing, langlaufing, you can do it all here. And if it's just loafing around in the sunshine, few better places. Round 6 of the Viessmann FIBT Skeleton Men's World Cup here in sunny St. Moritz. Martin Dukurs wins again, and he extends his season's lead over Alexander Trkov. Dukurs in St. Moritz with 2 races, taking the lead away from the Russian rocket. Thomas Dukurs in 3rd place. Antoine, Johnny Fairburn with a podium here in 5th, ahead of Frank Rommel, who slips another position down to 6th. Christian Rommel moves up the order. He started the weekend in 16th, now in 13th in the world rankings, ahead of teammate Dom Parsons. So all sorts of accent, incident and intrigue going on here in St. Moritz as ever, in the most beautiful of locations, the most historic, the fastest, the longest, and the best track on the planet. Let's give our flowers and our champagne from the sponsor's mum to our top 3. Johnny Fairburn in the red of Canada, in the blue of Latvia, Thomas Dukurs, and our race winner, Martin Dukurs. Well, he won in Calgary, he was 2nd in Park City, 8th in Lake Placid, but since we came to Europe post-Christmas in the run up to the Games, he has been all but unbeatable. Victorious in Winterberg, victorious in St. Moritz on Friday, victorious in St. Moritz on Sunday. 3 straight runs and going away, leaving the field trailing in his wake, showing that none of his form of the last 2 or 3 seasons has gone away from him. Our World Cup leader still retains the position as the favourite for Olympic glory. Well, let's hope that's not piling too much pressure on his shoulders. I think he can handle it, but let's hear from our top 3. John Morgan is down there with them.
John Fairburn, your first ever World Cup medal. Did you think you had a chance to do this waking up this morning?
Sometimes you never know. I knew I had a really great first run, and so once that happened, I thought I had a chance. But sometimes you never know what'll happen in the race. I had a good day yesterday, so anything's possible.
Congratulations, John. Enjoy the moment in the birthplace of Skeleton, St. Moritz. And over to Thomas Dukurs. Thomas, you and your brother, do you share all the information of everything?
Look, that he's not helping me because I'm still losing a lot. But first of all, I want to say thanks to my team, to supporters, spectators, which also is a part of our results. So thank you for everybody.
Congratulations again. 2 silver medals in a row for you. Now, Martins, 2 heats down, 4 more heats to go to the €100,000 triple trophy. Do you think of that?
I think the best idea is not to think about this, just try to do your best in every competitions, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I can something reach because of team, because we have a strong team which helps really, and also all those supporters which came. So 2 solid runs, nice weather, perfect.
Definitely perfect. Congratulations. 2 heats down, 6 to go.
Perfect is right. A perfect run on a perfect location. My thanks to John Morgan, to Melissa Hollingsworth alongside me in the booth, and to you for joining us. Martins and Thomas Dukurs again victorious, and a huge day for Johnny Fairburn. He won't worry about the Triple Crown. He only worries about 1 race this year, and that is over 4 heats at the Sankey Sliding Centre in the Winter Olympic Games. Expect to see him fare well next week in Eagles. Join us then. Until we meet again, from Martin Haven and the rest of the FIBT TV team, thank you for joining us, and goodbye.